Book an appointment today at bootshearingcare.ie and turn up the things you love for less. Boots. Let's feel good. Offer ends 30th September 2020. Over 18s and Phonak Deo Marvel hearing aids only.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
For the first to go for home, US Army Ranger is now in full cry towards the outside. They enter the final furlong. Harzand, US Army Ranger, has got to the leader's girth, but has still got to get by as Harzand is pulling out more. And it's Harzand in the colours of the Aga Khan who has won the Investec Derby for Pat Smullen and Dermot Weld. US Army Ranger second, Idaho in third in a clean sweep for Ireland. In fourth place, Wings of Desire, Humphrey Bogart, Redbird and Algometer, and Cloth of Stars.
It's a childhood dream to win this race, and I've been at it a while now, and it's always a race I wanted to win, and it's amazing how this game works. The other horse, we didn't know whether he'd ever get to Epsom. We thought he'd been better suited by the Curragh, and when I got on mid-term I thought he would be my ride, and I went by the wayside, and then the rain came for this fella, and the boss said we have to take our chance, and he's a vastly improving horse, and he showed his true ability today, because when Ryan came to me, my horse dug deep again. He found another gear, and he's a very good horse, and thankfully you need a little bit of luck. The rain came in the right time.
Well, we had to start the show this evening by paying tribute to Pat Smullen, who has passed away at the age of 43. He was 9-time Irish champion jockey, successful here and in the UK and in France. He won the Epsom Derby, as you've just heard, in 2016, a real highlight in his long and successful alliance with Dermot Weld. Pat was diagnosed with prostate cancer in March 2018. He fought tirelessly. We spoke to him on the show in his home in 2019. His determination then was palpable. He raised over €2.5 million for prostate cancer research after his diagnosis. And our thoughts in particular today are with his wife Frances and 3 children. Dermot Weld is on the line. Evening, Dermot.
Evening, good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks so much for making time for us. I mean, we played Epsom there in 2016. You couldn't in your wildest nightmare imagine where we'd be.
No, it was very moving. Today has been a very, very emotional day, to be quite honest, and I was very proud the way all the people came out of the Curragh today to watch the funeral cortege go by. There was several hundred people out there just in our area to watch it going by, if you know what I mean. It stopped, as you may know, at the Curragh racecourse, and see the coffin with the number cloths from both the Epsom and the Irish Derby of Harzand on it.
The outpouring for Pat has been so striking. I mean, he was an immensely popular person.
Well, he was a fabulous individual, and his loyalty, his integrity speaks volumes, because that's the sort of man he was, if you know what I mean. He was first and foremost, he was a wonderful human being. He was kind, generous, but as I said, integrity and loyalty have to be right up there.
Which I presume is a big part of your long association together, 20-odd years.
Yeah, we're 20 years stable jockey here, you know what I mean, that we became wonderful friends. We travelled the world, some of the big race wins that he had. I always say we went to California with a very good filly called Dress to Thrill, but we went into the Lion's Den, we took on the 2 best turf fillies of the United States in a race called the Matriarch. And she went off 3rd or 4th favourite, but it was a brilliant ride from Patty. Outrode the 2 best jockeys riding on the west coast of America, and she got up to win either a head or a neck. But it was an unbelievable drive from Pat Smullen to beat the 2 best riders they had in America at the time. I forget who they were, Mike Smith and somebody else. And
Dermot, what were Pat's qualities as a jockey?
There were many. He's a guy that he did a lot of homework on. By that I mean study. What's going to be likely to make the running in races, how other jockeys were going to ride. When he came into the parade ring, possibly because he knew his horses so well here, we didn't really have much to discuss or to say, and he had a plan for every race. And his real quality was his ability to get horses in the right position in a race. Irrespective if the race was being run too quick or too slow, he was always able to get the horse into where he wanted to put the horse. This very nice, quiet guy, which he was, as I said to you, on the ground. When he got on a horse's back, Pat was ruthless. And he was a very tough opponent, I can tell you. But he got horses into where he wanted them to be in a race. And he had the ability then to get a horse in what we call a nice rhythm, that the horse was relaxed. He had wonderful hands. He could get a horse to relax. So here's a guy that he's in the exact correct position. This would be typified Harazand in the Epsom Derby. Difficult tracks like Epsom and indeed Ascot, he rode superbly. Like he's right to win on a horse called Rite of Passage. The Gold Cup of Royal Ascot was superb. He set a track record, and himself and Johnny Murtha had a major set 2 all the way up the straight. And it was just a brilliant ride from Pat. And again, when he won on Free Eagle, again at Royal Ascot, he won a short head, the Prince of Wales Stakes, only a couple of years ago. And, you know, it was a dynamic ride from him.
Mm. I was listening to Ruby Walsh was talking somewhere this afternoon, and he was making the observation that he never felt Pat was a jockey, unlike others, I suspect, a jockey who had, you know, tons of natural self-confidence, that it was something he worked at, and maybe he worked so hard maybe as a result of that. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
I think that would be fair. I hope I, in some small way, helped to give him confidence. Very often I've just used to say, I actually remember going out from Melbourne Cup, joking him, I said, you just go out and enjoy yourself. And he knew what I meant by that. But he would do, as I said, he would have a lot of homework done on the opposition. And this is the key. He would have his horse in the position where he wanted him to be so he could deliver his challenge. Like, he won the English 2,000 guineas for me on a horse called Refuse to Bend, which, by the way, I think is a very appropriate name, because when Pat was diagnosed with cancer, that's what he didn't do. He refused to bend.
You said, Dermot, you became friends as well. You travelled the world together. In your casual conversations on flights or in cars or in helicopters, was it always racing that you talked about, or other stuff as well?
No. We talked about the world. We talked about life. We talked about how short life is, surprising. You know, I'm fully aware of humanity, and you know, he was a very humble guy, Pat Smullen, and that was one of the lovely qualities he had. He was a highly respectful, humble person. And Ruby was right. He didn't realize how good he was. That's the best way to put it. And he didn't want to realize how good he was. He was 9 times champion jockey. He was I would say he was unquestionably in the top 6 riders of the world, not just of Europe. And he was in the top 6 of the world for many years.
He said his diagnosis in 2018 was like being hit with a sledgehammer, and I fully imagine it was. Can you give us an insight, maybe, Dermot, into how he dealt with the last 2 years of his life?
I think he dealt exceptionally well with the last 2 years of his life. He was a fighter. As I said, he refused to bend. That's why I mentioned the name of the horse he won the Guineas, that we won the Guineas with. It was a Moyglare colt. He just refused to give in. He refused to lie down under it. And I said he did the exact. Remember, this time last year he hoped to ride actually in the charity race, the Legends race, which was the race that started off to raise the $2.5 million for cancer research. But he fought it. That's the best way to put it. He fought it hard, and that's why I feel so sad, because he fought so hard. He deserved to live longer for his 3 wonderful children and his dear wife.
I wouldn't for a moment to profess to say I knew Pat Smullen very well at all, but I was in his home in 2019, and we had a long afternoon with him. We interviewed him, and then I sat around him and his wife, and one of his children was there as well for a cup of tea. And what jumped out is they're such a unit, you know, and they were in this together, and I can't imagine that house today. Yeah,
neither can I. It's unbelievably sad. It's just so blooming tragic that here was a guy that was so fit, kept himself so well, didn't smoke, did everything right, if you know what I mean, fitness fanatic, and at the age of 41 gets pancreatic cancer. It was just unbelievable. But as I said, also, which life can be so unfair, because he deserved to get more than 2 years, if you know what I mean. Even being designed, because he tried so hard to fight it. He did not give in to it. He never gave in to it. And it was just so tragic. In fact, even after we were fortunate to win the 2 Group 1s on Sunday, he texted his congratulations how the 2 fillies had won those big races. And his mind was crystal clear, and yet within 48 hours he was gone.
Dermot, we appreciate you coming on. I'm sure it's been a long day, so thanks so much for that.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Dermot Weld there, paying tribute to Pat Smullen. And we have on the line with us as well a colleague, friend, I think primarily as well, of Pat Smullen. Fran Berry is there. Evening, Fran.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Yeah, very well. I mean, what can you say past a certain point?
Yeah, that's it. It's been a funny day, Joe. Funny 48 hours. We knew the last month things were going to be weren't good and they weren't progressing, and it was. But when the news came through yesterday morning, things weren't good. It's like a hammer blow for everybody, and just what Pat has done over the last 2.5 years since his diagnosis and the treatment, and it's just a terrible thing, and a terrible thing for his family, like Francis and the kids, and to see them all there today at the Curra Racecourse was heartbreaking.
How long have you known Pat? Did you come through around a similar time, Fran?
Yeah, I'm 39, Joe, and Pat was obviously 4 years ahead of me, and he was just getting established when I started riding, and I don't know, it's probably like some of them friendships that go. We didn't see eye to eye initially. We used to have a few run-ins and just getting going and rivalry and whatnot. And then we just seemed to gel and travelled a lot together. And Pat moved up to Kilcullen, and we travelled more together. And Declan McDonough and Kevin Manning and the four of us, and just became firm friends over time. And really tough rivalry on the track. Like you couldn't make it up how you go out and ride against each other, try to get rides off each other, and then travel racing together and laugh about it on the way home. It was a unique friendship and situation for the four of us, not just myself and Pat.
Yeah, all kind of facades are put in the ground. You're kind of on top of each other and seeing the real, the good, the bad, and the ugly at times of each other. And Dermot, and you mentioned as well, talked about his competitive edge, which you don't really hear so much when he's being interviewed, particularly of late. He's so mild-mannered and modest and quietly spoken. So give us a sense of the fight that was in him as a jockey.
Yeah, do you know what? He just had to win every day, Joe, and he wanted to win. And I think it was from where he started that it was all or nothing when he left school to go riding. And as he said a few numerous times, and he said it once or twice in interviews, it had to work. And he never took his foot off the pedal for fear that if he did, things would drop away. And he brought that to Roscommon on a Monday or Ballinrobe on a Tuesday. And it was the same Pat Smullen that you got in Royal Ascot on a big day. He just was so consistent. And I think from the smallest man in racing with a horse training at her own to the largest, they wanted him because they knew they were getting that commitment.
Pancreatic cancer is such a devastating blow. Did you see much of him or talk much to him over the past couple of years?
Oh, yeah. And, like when the diagnosis came through that time, I was in England at the time and flew back the next day and went to see him in Vincent's. And, to see what he went through, and he never once complained. It was just, we're getting this treatment, this to plan, this stage, next stage. And when there was a setback, it'd be a blow, but then he'd pick himself up. And, and I think the last couple of years, the not riding, but the time he spent with his family, he knew that was, looking back on it now, precious time, and I think he really, really appreciated to have that opportunity.
You didn't make it back to the Curra today, Fran, or did you?
No, I did. I'm actually back living in Ireland now, so I was there, and it was very touching and so sad in some respects, but credit to the whole industry and the Curra racing community that turned out today. It was very fitting, very, very fitting. And to go to the Curra where he basically spent every morning working, and he loved riding out there. He loved doing the work and loved race riding there. So it was just a great way, especially with the COVID times that we're in, for people to just pay their respects.
Stay with us a moment. That's Fran Berry on the line. We have Davy Russell with us as well. Davy, your memories of Pat Smullen?
Hi, Joe. Yeah, look, I suppose I was looking at Pat from a different side, admiring him from a different side, because we would arrive, during the summer months, there used to be a lot of mixed meetings, and you'd see we'd be arriving at the races when the flat lads would be kind of finishing up, you know what I mean? They'd have their last couple of rides, and, as Fran alluded to already, whether it was Ballinrobe or whether it was the Galway Festival or Royal Ascot, and it's not an easy thing to do for a jockey to do, to give 100% to win a 2,000 guineas and then get into your car and drive 3 or 4 hours up to Ballinrobe to ride in a bottom grade handicap. And Pat kind of knew the importance of that to them small trainers, we'll call them.
Yeah, so the dedication, the professional's professional then, in many respects. I mean, it's reminiscent of what you always hear about AP McCoy, Davy. Are you gone? I think we've lost Davy. We'll get him back up in the line. Fran Berry is still with us, but you can pick up on that point, Fran. I mean, you'd have an appreciation of how difficult that is day after day, meeting after meeting. He clearly had an incredible drive.
Yeah, Joe, he did. As Davy said, like, it was just pure, application to job, professionalism, and modesty as well. I think Dermot hinted at that there, but like, he dealt with the smallest of the game to the best of the game, and like, he'd win the Epsom Derby. And from what I can remember, he was riding in Listowel the next day, or Naas on the Monday, and there was no change in his demeanour. He got great enjoyment and great pride of it, but it was just a measure of a well-balanced man who got the game, but knew that he was lucky to be in a position to do these things,
Yeah, so it sounds like a kind of lovely mix of very genuine modesty and yet huge pride in his achievements as well, if that's kind of possible.
Indeed, and to ride with him, he was a tough competitor. Like he never gave an inch or asked for an inch, and but outside of riding off horseback, he was very, very helpful also to younger jockeys and lads coming through. He was a sounding board for a lot of them, and and he teached them on the track as well. Like, if they needed a lesson taught, he was there to teach them. But he'd be very helpful to them, and he was very free with his time off the horse as well, to people that needed a bit of help.
Davy Russell is back with us. Davy, I know, looking at your Twitter account earlier, you were certainly mindful of the fundraising efforts he put in after his diagnosis. I mean, and time is such a precious commodity when you've been dealt that diagnosis, and yet I think we're talking close to €3 million raised.
Yeah, but again, it gets back to the matter of Joe. I suppose he's 100% man, and I'd say, Pat wouldn't probably have agreed to doing something unless it was going to raise huge awareness. Now, lucky enough, I got into the car that day and went racing, and it's definitely the best day as a spectator I've ever gone racing. The most enjoyable day I've ever put down. It was just a fantastic day itself, and then for all the lads to compete in it, and then for the public then to get behind it. It was just a marvellous event. I don't think it would ever be replicated. And that was all the credit to Pat and his commitment that he put into it. I don't think he ever thought that they'd raise the money they did, but it'll just tell you the measure of the man. When he asked for something, people gave freely, because Pat had given freely to so many people himself, and a lot of people just gave back that time that he'd given to them. So it was a fantastic day. I can't tell you how good a day it was. It was just brilliant, and it was bucketing rain. It was cold. It was everything, and it was just a great day.
This is pretty much to the day last year, I think, is it?
I think it's actually to the day, would you believe? It's an amazing, the world works in the terrible ways, but it's to the day, I think, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Pat was in touch, or somebody was in touch, and they trying to get the great and the good of racing together to just put on a day's racing and raise as much as possible.
Yeah, no, they had AP McCoy said he'd never ride again, and he came out of retirement, Ruby, Johnny Murta. Now, Fran, did you ride in it?
No, Davy, but he lined up Paul Carberry, Richard Hughes, Ted Durkin, Kieran Fallon.
Yeah, Charlie Swan, lads, we don't realise how good a bunch of lads they were, but when you see them all together, it really was amazing. It even sends a tingle down my spine at the moment, thinking about the day that was in it. It was fantastic. Gordon had a runner in it, I think, so I was in the parade ring. I was lucky enough to be in the parade ring and be in the whole lot. And it was a fitting day for the man that it was Yeah, he was but he was great to watch, would you believe? I used to love watching him. He didn't have your typical style of a flat jockey. He was kind of a little bit stronger and squarer. Like, he was unbelievably strong in the saddle, and he was always a joy to watch. I saw a marvellous video of him riding the winner of a handicap in England. He dropped out stone last, and still with 50 yards to go, he was still hanging on to, like, he had the confidence to do them things as well, which is it's very hard to get in a jockey,
Davy, Russell, thanks so much for coming on. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Fran, I'll give you a final word. As I said, I know you were good friends and knew each other a long time. I mean, he won't be forgotten in a hurry. I mean, you listen to Davy there, and I think Jessica Harrington's very keen to come on in a moment, and Dermot Weld, and the outpouring across the sport and beyond was just so striking. He made a real impression for a quiet man and somebody who wouldn't have tried to garner attention, certainly deliberately.
Yeah, Joe, the last 24 hours, we just said it all, how popular he was and how much he touched people's lives. And I suppose the one legacy, apart from a wonderful family that he leaves behind him, is that cancer trials research. And if that €3 million that he put together, which I don't know, how do you comprehend that amount of money to be garnered on one day, contributes to saving somebody's life or improving the research into pancreatic cancer, that we can see progress, I think he will be happy at that. It's his legacy, and he was just a really sound, wonderful man that you knew what you see was what you get, and he was very good to people, and it's just such a loss. Okay,
well listen, thanks so much for taking the time today. I know it's probably been a rough 24 hours to say the least, but Fran Berry, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks. That's Fran Berry there. Just before we sign off for the moment, Johnny Murtagh was on OTB AM this morning, a long-time rival, as Dermot Weld mentioned there initially, and he was on with the lads this morning to pay tribute to Pat Smullen. Have a listen.
He was the man in the weigh room, in the end, that everybody wanted to be like. Everybody wanted to be like Pat Smullen, because, what you got was what you seen. It was just, he was the main man. But I think when he started that fundraising, I think outside the racing, that all the other people around the world got to see the other side of Pat Smullen. That steely determination. Listen, when he got diagnosed first, it was not a good outcome. We knew it was not going to be a good outcome, but he went through the treatment, and I genuinely thought, this guy is going to pull through. It's not going to beat this guy. It's just another hurdle that's coming his way. He's going to overcome it. I met him at a couple of functions. In the last 2 years, he seemed in great form. Always very positive. Always very positive. His mind was always very positive. And then to go and do the fundraising, to start, to create the race that brought together all the champions from all over, Mackay, Walsh, Charlie Swan, Paul Carberry. No one else would have done that, only for Pat Smullen. You wouldn't have done it for anybody else. So I think that's what he had. He had that. And listen, I thought, listen, he's going to come through. He's going to come through. But it was only last week, speaking to Kevin O'Ryan, when I said, "Oh, how is Pat?" Just by his reaction, I got the feeling that all was not well. But it's a hammer blow. But I think everybody outside racing got to see the human being he was, the man he was. They got a feel for him, and as I said, you couldn't but just love the guy. As I said, I had those great battles with him. We were head to head on many occasions, but deep down, I really loved the guy.
Well, there you are, Johnny Murtagh this morning on OTB AM, one of many paying tribute to Pat Smullen, who has passed away at the age of 43.
Off the ball on News Talk. News Talk already gives you your daily fix of news and entertainment. But wouldn't you like a little bit more? News Talk Extra is everything you might have missed, plus expert tips, podcasts and competitions, all straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at newstalk.com/extra.
Weekly wonders at Dunnes Stores. In store this week only, Coca-Cola 10 packs, now €6. 48 pack of Weetabix half price. And all fulfilled 15 packs, just €20 each. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Updating school technology with a limited budget can be challenging. That's why at Wriggle Learning, we're now offering great deals with flexible finance options on a range of Windows 10 devices from only €12 a month. As Microsoft's only gold partner for education in Ireland, Wriggle Learning will deliver ready-to-go Windows devices with school apps and requested restrictions in place to keep your students and their data safe. To find out more and order now, visit wrigglelearning.ie. Finance from €12 per month, 36 monthly instalments, no deposit required. Terms and conditions apply.
Live Entertainment Industry National Awareness Week.
On the 12th of March, the live entertainment and event industry stopped.
Over 35,000 workers are dependent on this commercial industry, and they've had no opportunity to earn any income from the sector for over 6 months.
This is the only sector of the economy that still remains in forced lockdown.
We invite you to support this sector by raising awareness of its workers and their families.
Thank you.
Proudly supported by News Talk.
Transform your home with the Green Hub from An Post, a hassle-free way to upgrade to a warmer, more cost-efficient home. We'll help you with everything, even the grant process. Plus, we have the lowest green loan rate, over €20,000. Visit onpost.com/greenhub or your local post office today. The Green Hub from An Post, the easier way to enjoy greener living. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Info correct as of 1st of August 2020. Source ccpc.ie for Ireland's lowest rate over €20,000. An Post acts as a credit intermediary on behalf of Avantcard DAC. An Post trading as An Post Money is authorised as a credit intermediary by the CCPC. Avantcard DAC trading as Avantcard is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Get ready for a big weekend of live sport with Sky Sports and Sports Extra, half price for 6 months. Watch the Champions Cup with Leinster versus Saracens on BT Sport. And all 4 days of the US Open only on Sky Sports.
Absolutely superb.
Get Sky Sports and Sports Extra, half price for 6 months. Search Sky Sports Sale. New sports customers only. Standard pricing applies after 6 months or of cancelling one element of the bundle. Minimum term